Meet me. Welcome back, boys, to another episode of Should You Pull? And we have a doozy today because we have to talk about the Guilty Gear banner. Now, this should have been a very easy discussion, but it's complicated by the fact that two of these heroes just got buffs, so it kind of makes it a little harder to talk about. So, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the two heroes that didn't change first, and then we're going to talk about the next two heroes. This happens every year, so if you do have to skip these heroes, you will have a shot at them next year. But again, obviously with limited heroes, if you can get them, you should get them. If you really can't, let's talk about which ones to prioritize. So first of all, to get them, it's going to be the same Stars Mirage coin shop. You're going to see that Soul is much cheaper, and I'm assuming you could get them for free from the event like last year, which is why I'm guessing it's so cheap. It's just for imprints. But first, let's start with Baiken. Now, let's start with the overall rating. I think she's skippable. Back then, she used to be pretty popular, and people used to use her in like PvP. But in the past year, no one uses her in Arena. No one uses her in Guild Wars. No one uses her in RTA. And by no one, I mean like no one high rated. I'm sure at the lower ratings, people use whatever they want. But in 1,000 matches of RTA, I've never seen Baiken once. So back in the day, they used to build her fast, and they used her as like a strong CR pusher. But again, she's kind of just been outclassed in that role lately. So in PvP, she's largely non-existent, and she didn't get any buffs. So you could just assume that she's going to continue to be non-existent. In PvE, she is the classic Banshee one-shotter. So if you really want to build a Banshee one-shot team, you can do that with her. But the thing is, you can also build a Banshee one-shot team with like Mighty Mouse, which is a 2-star fodder unit. So is it really worth moloing a 5-star hero just for a one-shot Banshee team when there's so many other heroes in the game that could do it? I don't know. But obviously, if you consider her waifu material, logic doesn't matter. Do whatever you want. But I'd say if you're really trying to pick which one to go for, this one's the easy skip. Now, Dizzy, the cancer skank. This is a tough one, guys, because Dizzy used to be one of the most cancerous units in the game, must pull tier. But I gotta say, in the past, 3 to 6 months, she's largely disappeared, partly because they released so many counters to her, and partly just because she's aged out. Again, RTA last season, almost never saw her. Which actually surprised me because I still think she's pretty toxic. Her S3 does apply some of the most annoying debuffs in the game. She can extend them, and she has an AoE stun on her S1, which is why most people run her kind of tanky on counter. So definitely I still think she's a good hero, but if you're worried about just straight PvP, I don't really think you need her anymore. I think you could get by just fine without her, and Dizzy defenses are super easy to counter. So in many ways on the PvP front, she's fallen off. You could still use her on Guild Wars offense against certain defenses. She still does very good. But again, you don't need her. I never use Dizzy on offense, and I do fine in Guild Wars. The one thing I will say that Dizzy really helped me with is she was great in PvE. Certain Abyss floors, she can just solo them. She just trivializes them, but I haven't done Abyss in a long time because it's been cleared forever, but if you're a newer player struggling on certain Abyss floors, I think Dizzy can certainly help you a lot. So for her, again, I think for new players, you can probably skip her, but I would definitely prioritize her above Baiken. I think Dizzy is still much better general purpose than Baiken is. So yeah, go for Dizzy, and she's also a waifu. So I think if you're really short bookmarks and you want to wait, you could skip her, but otherwise, just go for her. Now let's talk about Soul. This one is hard because the old Soul, I would say, just easiest skip. But then again, you also get him for free, so there's really no reason to skip. Just get him. But we'll talk about him anyway. So the old Soul is pretty much useless. You can build some one-shot teams with him. He could do Hell Raid with him. He actually hit really hard, but in PvP he was pretty much a joke. The only time people used him in PvP was for this ability. He can troll K-Rons by one-shotting K-Rons because He strips them, unbuffables them or whatever, and then just one-shots them with the extra damage. But again, like you don't need a unit just to kill Kayron. There's other ways to deal with him. But now they changed him. I think some of this is just verbiage. I think the main change is here. Anytime the opponent uses a non-attack skill, he gets 20% CR in Fighting Spirit. And anytime someone does an AoE attack, he activates Volcanic Viper against the attacker. And that might make him pretty interesting. The thing, though, is it only happens once every 2 turns, so it's not like he's just spamming Volcanic Vipers all the time. But I'm curious to see if that has like a serious impact on his viability. His S3 didn't really change that much. I think it's just a wording thing again. Like it says, regardless of whether the attack hits. I think it did that before. Like, is that just clarifying? Because, or maybe it didn't proc if he missed. I don't know. But I think the main change is just his S2. But again, time will tell if that makes him viable. I still don't think he'll really be very common, but nonetheless, it's an easy discussion because I think you get him for free, so just get him. And even if you don't get him for free, 10 whatever Star Mirage coins, worth it. Just do 10 pulls and get him. Now, I saved the best for last. Elphelt. She is horrible, an absolutely horrible unit. But not anymore. Not anymore. With her new buffs, I think she's actually insane. So I think out of the 4 heroes, she is the must pull out of them. I mean, granted, she's kind of more of a cleave unit the way she's designed, but who knows? Maybe people will even build her bruiser. So let's go over her ability. So her S1, I don't think actually changed at all. So that's whatever. She does a little bit of damage, might apply unbuffable. Fine. But you know what? Let's talk about this move first, because usually a rotation was S3, S2. So dispels 2 buffs from enemy before shooting a bullet of love with a 75% chance to sleep for 2 turns and grants them an extra turn. So why is this good? Well, it's good because it used to be 1 buff, now it's 2. So even if there's FCC, you can strip the immunity and put them to sleep. So basically on the opener, it's like a guaranteed sleep. And, you know, she has the soul burn, so if you bring a mage, you can even make sure that it sleeps them. And that's pretty damn good, right? So you sleep, you disable them, you strip them, and yeah. And I think you put decreased defense on them after you awaken it. So it doesn't say here, but I'm pretty sure awakening is it also death breaks them, which is crazy. And then the S2. So this is the big change. Actually, there's 2 big changes because I believe back then it gave increased crit chance, but now her S2 gives the whole team increased attack for 2 turns. On top of that, the biggest difference is right here. When the enemy is asleep, decreases defense of all enemies for 2 turns. That is so much better, because the condition back then was, I believe, when the enemy is defeated. So you had to S3 them first, and then kill them with the S2 to get the AoE death break, which was pretty hard to do, because if you built her fast, she didn't do enough damage to one-shot anything, so her kit didn't make any sense, and it made her pretty useless. But now, you don't have to kill them, they just have to be asleep. And she has a 100% chance to sleep them. So think about it. If you can build her fast enough, what's the most important thing to a cleave team? It's getting attack buff and getting death break on the enemy. She can do it by herself. So she opens, she strips one person, she puts them to sleep, and then she can give the whole team attack buff and death break the entire enemy team. Now, the one problem that's obvious here is if you use her as the soul opener and the other 3 people have immunity, that death break won't land. But you'll still get the increased attack, which is way more useful than the increased crit chance. So if you pair her with something like Cerise into Elphelt and you strip the whole team, then you get a sleep plus a death break and an attack buff for your whole team. That's a pretty insane combo. So I think Elphelt went from like F tier to A, maybe even S tier. Like the only concern I have with Elphelt is that cleaving has kind of been dead in the meta, and this is clearly a cleaving unit. But again, who knows? I've never seen a bruiser Elphelt. Actually, I haven't seen Elphelt at all last season, but maybe a bruiser Elphelt is still possible. I mean, make her a little bit tanky, give the whole team attack buff, defense break. I think it might even be worth it to make her as a bruiser. And also remember, she's a ranger, and guiding light exists now. So you don't even really have to build her fast. You can just protect her with guiding light. So I think, regardless of whether you cleave or not, this might become a hero that definitely high tier players are going to experiment with. We'll see what happens, and if she becomes meta, who knows? Maybe she will. But she's definitely probably the most attractive hero out of the bunch right now. So I think if you could only pick one unit and you want to make sure it's a viable PvP unit, I think Elphelt is your best bet because Baiken is dead in PvP and she didn't get buffed. Soul got buffed, but he's free, so you don't have to worry about it. Just wait and see what happens. Dizzy has not changed, and she's been out of the meta for quite a while. I still think she's a good hero, though, but again, there's plenty of people succeeding without using her, drafting her at all. Elphelt is the big question mark, because these buffs are absolutely massive, but since the buffs happened literally like today, it's hard to see how much of an impact it will have, but I don't think anyone would question that a single unit with a full strip basically on the opener, a sleep, plus an AoE attack buff and an AoE death break. That sounds like a pretty loaded kit to me, right? Especially when she can hold guiding light. So that's my conclusion here. TLDR, prioritize Elphelt. Dizzy's good, Soul you get for free. Baiken's the easiest to skip. So anyways, if you have any questions, if you have any problems with my analysis, leave it in the comments section below. Let the people like it, and if you're right, people will upvote it. And but that's pretty much my opinion on this banner. So for those of you pulling on it, best of luck. I hope you guys get everything you want. Actually, I forgot one important thing. The artifacts. Miss Confile, you definitely want it. Necro and Undyne, it's okay, but no one uses it. You could skip it. And Torn Sleeve, you can skip it. It is pretty useful in Wyvern 13 if you're making a budget team and you want to have like a thief put debuffs on the Wyvern. But out of the three, Confile is, or Confile, however you say it, is the only one you really need to have. So anyways, with that, now for real, we'll wrap it up. Thanks for watching. Best of luck on your summons. Don't forget to join Channel Nuts if you want the big, awesome pulls. And till next time, peace out.